First off, I want to welcome everyone to Rotary. Shane, are you recording yet? Yes, Shane is recording yet. So he's recording all of my bumbling. Thank you, sir. So today is February 17th, 2021. Our guest speaker today is Ms. Ronnie LeForge from the City of Carbondale. Ding, welcome to Rotary. Thank you, Sharon Lorenskis, for being our greeter today. It is now time for the Pledge of Allegiance. So Linda Flowers has volunteered to lead us in the pledge today. Welcome, Linda.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and
of the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Linda. Just a bit of housekeeping, if you will. I'm going to mute everybody if Shane hasn't already done that. I got some complaints that we had a lot of feedback in our last meeting, so we're going to mute everybody. And if it's your turn to speak, we'll ask you to unmute. You can unmute yourself, or we'll click you there. But just for the sake of song time and everything else that we do, we'll have everybody muted unless it's your turn to speak. Time for our moment of reflection, and today's moment of reflection is offered by fellow Rotarian Christine McGuire.
Hi, everybody. I actually have two for the day. The first one is nobody sees a flower. Really, it is so small, it takes time. We haven't time, and to see takes time. Like to have a friend takes time. That's by Georgia O'Keeffe. And the other one, kind of in the same vein, is so you see, imagination needs noodling. Long, inefficient, happy idling, dawdling, and puttering. And that's by Brenda Euland.
Thank you, Christine. Flowers in springtime here, giving me ideas here. It's a little too cold for flowers, but the one in my kitchen's looking okay. It is now our song time, and today's song is Marian Anderson singing "My Country 'Tis of Thee" at an opening concert given on Easter Sunday in 1939 from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. And this is by request, specifically because it's Black History Month. So she was an African-American opera singer. So I'll stop my share here and we will play that song. So that was Marian Anderson, American opera singer in 1939, singing from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. So now it's time for introduction of our guests, and I have the pleasure of introducing guests today. I see our visiting Rotarian Orb Beck is here today, and our guest speaker is not here with us quite yet, but Ronnie LeForge from the City of Carbondale will be joining us in about 5 to 10 minutes to do her discussion. Some club announcements. Want to thank Carl and Linda Flowers for the foundation donation challenge for February of 2021. We're booked all the way through June of 21, but we are open after that. So if your name's not on the list and you're interested in doing that $100 match for our 100th anniversary this year, please let me know, let Shane know, let Jim Grant know, and we'll get you on this list. Our weekly duties, please don't forget to help out with our doodle poll. This is just like the clipboard we handed out when we were meeting in person. You can also email our club secretary, Shane Hermits, to get that up to date. So next week's link is here in the video, and it will be in the chat in Zoom. Our 100 Little Things update, we've got 61 projects completed. Shane, do you have any additional projects that we've completed or additional focus areas for us?
Nope, we're holding firm at 61. I hope everybody's safe with the cold weather and the snow. So hopefully when the weather changes, we can start tackling more projects, but that's current as today.
Sounds good. Our active service projects, we are continuing to provide lunch with Heartland Catering and through the Warming Center. Please consider helping to support that with a contribution on your invoice or directly to the club. I do not have today's lunch from Patty Stokes yet, but you can check out the Carbondale Warming Center Facebook page. They've been really good about keeping that information up to date. Jerry Malumbi, do you have anything for the Carbondale Warming Center Material Support Project? You are muted, sir.
I think, is Gail on the phone
Gail had another meeting today, so he's not able to be here. But the only thing that I'm aware of from him right now is disposable plates, cups, etc.
Yeah, they go through quite a few of those, serving 3 meals a day there. So those are the main things at this point in time. This is the time this is what they're set up for, is these cold weathers and snowy weathers to take people in. So valuable service.
Thank you, Jerry. Time for some district updates. Our Rotary Satellite Club of Carbondale in the Satellite Club located in Murfreesboro is off the ground. Brooke, do you want to say anything about what's going on with the Murfreesboro Club?
Sure. We have met twice, and basically our first couple meetings were just going through the history of Rotary. Shane talked to us the very first one about the international programs and district information. And then the one we had yesterday, we just started talking about some service project ideas, as well as went through like all the different websites and DAC-DB and things like that. So beginning next month, I think we're going to start having speakers. And so we already have our first speaker set for March 16th, which will be Murfreesboro Main Street.
Great. Thank you, Brooke. Our district grant project, we had a couple submissions last week for our project, and the board elected last night to file for an extension on our current project with the Kiwanis Club at the all-inclusive playground at Turley Park. Due to COVID and the weather, we've had a bit of a delay in getting phase 2 completed for the Kiwanis Club. So our funds have already been submitted and our end of that is covered, but the Kiwanis Club has been delayed in the actual installation of this project. And because of coronavirus or COVID-19, we haven't been able to help out in person to the extent that we had hoped. So that project is still ongoing, but any future projects, we had a couple good suggestions. We're going to continue to work through those. Please send me a note on that and we can work through that. The District 6510 2021 scholarship application is live, and this has already been shared with our local high schools, but 2 scholarships to an accredited college or trade school will be awarded to high school seniors. Recipients will have their awards publicized through the Rotary International District 6510. So those are $2,500 scholarships. That's a B average school enrollment, educational and career plan. So there's a good amount of criteria for that. But if you know of any high school seniors that would benefit from this, please let them know to reach out to their guidance office who have these applications and the information regarding this particular scholarship. District 6510 is also looking for host families for the 2022-2023 school year. So if you have the availability in your house, whether you have kids in the home or not, who would be able and willing to host for 3 to 4 months, a visiting Rotarian exchange student. We've had a couple students recently, I think every year or so, Sharon, we've had people that have gone overseas through outbound exchange, but we're looking for inbound exchange families. So Sharon, do you have any comments you'd like to make on this?
No, just that this is always the hardest part of my job as the youth exchange officer, is finding host families. So I welcome any suggestions, and it's going to be probably a little harder for me now too, because I'm out of being at the high school on a regular basis, to be familiar with families. So please send me any leads. We've got lots of time since we're postponing, resuming exchanges till next year, but it's a really important part of what we do, I believe. So
Thank you, Sharon.
you're welcome.
Rotary International news, the coming Rotary year 2021, starting in July, protecting the environment becomes an official cause of Rotary. And our visiting Rotarian Orbeck is on the call with us today. Or do you have anything you'd like to touch on quickly about that new official cause?
Well, I mean, the most exciting thing about it is the fact that there's a whole new category of projects that are more sustainable. So in the past, Rotary International has not funded renewable energy projects or sustainable projects, in that sustainable is, they use the word sustainable to mean long-term, but not sustainable as in good for the environment. So, but now just absolutely huge, because there's a lot of projects that are going to move forward.
Thank you, sir.
Especially right now, solar powered vaccine refrigerators.
That's not something I would have ever thought would be a phrase, but solar power has come a long way, and I think we're seeing the need for more sustainable and diverse energy sources. And I believe Orr and members of his team will be speaking with us in a couple of weeks regarding sustainable energy and solar in Southern Illinois. So want to continue in the Rotary International news that Africa is polio free. I need to get these updated, but wild polio virus is down to Afghanistan and Pakistan are the main focus areas. And as you can see, from December of 2019 into 2020, those numbers have shifted, dropped down, and the shift is changing. That we might have more in Afghanistan, but we're down in Pakistan, and Rotarians are continuing to work to get those kids vaccinated. And that leads right into the conversations about the COVID-19 vaccines that are happening, and sustainable refrigeration for those vaccines, because it is a different vaccine, and it has to be kept at temperatures. So continue to support the Polio Plus Fund, and hopefully we can get completely polio free worldwide. Now it's time for some of your good news. Fellow Rotarians, this is your opportunity to unmute yourself and speak up and share your good news for the day.
Can I go first here? I'm happy to report that today marks the 48th anniversary of my initiation into Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity incorporated the oldest Black letter fraternity in the country, founded in 1906. So I'm one of the senior members of our local chapter here, and I mean that senior in the terms of my longevity, I guess. Thank you.
So I will share a piece of good news, and that is that last week I was notified by the American Bar Association that I'm receiving an award called the Mari Rasmussen Award for my work in mentoring young women in international law. So that was a nice honor. And I'll have to add that to my fines.
Any other good news this morning? My good news is that my kids have had 2 days in a row that they've been able to put their snow pants on and go roll around in the snow, albeit for only about 20 to 30 minutes each day because they just got cold. But we've got the snow gear, and it looks like we're finally getting plowed out today. So we're no longer plowed into our drive and stuck here, but that's not to say I'm going to be traveling anywhere anytime soon. Roads still aren't great, but the kids are able to get outside and play.
I'll find myself. I've been responding to people saying how bad the weather is by saying that I'm from Minnesota, it's no big deal. Well, my fine comes because I had to be pushed out of the snow situation I got stuck in this morning. So little humble pie for lunch.
All right. Without hearing any additional good news at this time, our two Sergeant at Arms are not with us today. Do we have any representatives that would like to sit in on that role for today? Seeing none, we will keep moving along in our slides, and I will introduce our guest speaker. Our guest speaker today is Ronnie LaForge from the City of Carbondale. So, Ms. LaForge, I will give you the opportunity. If you need to share your screen, we can do that. Otherwise, I'll just open it up, and the floor is yours.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Can everybody hear me all right? Thumbs up? Okay, good. I'm using a different setup than what I normally do. So hopefully you guys can all hear me great. Like he mentioned, my name is Ronnie LeForge. I am the Carbondale Public Relations Officer. I am fairly new to this position. I've been in the position for about 15 months. And as you all know, that we've been under COVID restrictions for many of those months. So what my job would normally look like pre-pandemic, I haven't gotten to see much of that. So my job since the pandemic hit has been communicating the resources available to people in the general public, to everyone on the City of Carbondale Facebook page, next door, all of the social media outlets, and then through PSAs and stories that happen on Channel 3, Channel 6, 12, you know the drill. So I just want to explain a little bit of my background. I don't know if any of you guys watch Channel 3. I was on there for many years. I worked there for almost 9. I started when I was 16. I know you guys are all thinking like, wow, this lady looks really young. I am young, don't do the math, but I started there when I was 16 years old. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I knew that I had a passion for educating people and making sure that everyone was informed with a proper news source. Because I know, we all know from Facebook that misinformation can get spread so quickly. So I knew even at a young age that I wanted it to be my mission to stop some of the spread of that misinformation. I walked into the building as a 16-year-old, asked if I could have a job sweeping the floors, cleaning the bathrooms after hours, but I just wanted a foot in the door. And they were like, well, do you want to answer phones? And I was so excited to not have to clean a toilet, and they took me on, and I say that I grew up there because I really feel like I did. Jim Razor, Mark Kiesling, both of them great friends of mine. They took me under their wing and made sure that I was growing up to be a good journalist. Well, about 15 months ago, I recently got married, and the hours that you work in news are very, very crazy. There's not really a good shift. You either work the wee hours of the morning, or you work all afternoon, or you work in the middle of the night. So there's not really a good shift. And I knew that I wanted to be home a little bit more, and the opportunity for Carbondale Public Relations Officer came open, and I was reading the job description and thought, well, I can do that, and I can do that, and I can do that. It just was a perfect fit for me. I'm also a Carbondale High School graduate and an SIU alum, so I am very much proud of Carbondale and want to do my best to promote it. So talking with you a little bit about what I do here at the city. I have a radio show that I do every Monday morning on WDBX called Talk of the Town. It's a show that I encourage all of you to listen to it. And if you want to be a guest on the show, if you're a part of other groups that you want to get the message out to Carbondale and just really, Jackson County, it would be a great opportunity. I'll go ahead and give you my number if any of you are interested in that. 618-559 1939. And before this is over, I'll make sure to include that in the chat window below. But that's my phone number. And each guest has about 15 minutes to talk about all things Carbondale. There's, 2 guests per show. And people think they come in, it's a community radio station. They don't really know how wide of an audience we're reaching. But I hear every week, hey, I heard you on Monday morning, and that's a great event that's going on, or that's a great virtual event, is what I've been hearing a lot. So I encourage all of you to reach out to me if you're interested in being on Talk of the Town. That's just what I do on Monday morning. So the rest of the week, I am coordinating media interviews, because we get calls daily or every other day from Channel 6 or 12 or the Southern, wanting a statement or wanting an interview or wanting video on this and that. And I work with all of the departments within the city. So police, fire, public works, water and sewer. I work with all of those departments to make sure that the media gets what they need, and that the message is clear and positive, and transparent as well, obviously. So I promote Carbondale in a variety of different ways. One of those ways is just making the information that we have easily accessible to the media outlets. I also work every day on the timely release of information. You may notice I'm out of breath a little bit. Right before I was on this call, we just got word that the Carbondale Civic Center is going to be a mass vaccination clinic. And we're going to be rolling out. We knew that it was coming, but we were waiting on the governor's announcement before we could put out our message. And so up until about 12:23, I was working on that, and then I ran in here. So as soon as we get off here, I'll probably be sending out a press release. I encourage all of you to sign up for city alerts as a way to keep yourself informed with what's going on in Carbondale. And I can also drop a link to that in the chat window. So that's some exciting news that we're getting a vaccination clinic here in Carbondale. I will probably for the rest of the day be coordinating with the media and facilitating interviews on what that means to us and when that will be available, which is sounds like later this week we'll be getting that rolled out. One of the other things that I think is important that I do, and people may not understand how important it is having a good relationship with the media. My background in news, I am good friends with all of the people at Channel 3, and they understand my new role as well as I understand their role and what they're trying to accomplish as well. So we work well together. I know what they need, but I also am able to share things with them. It's like, hey, this is maybe a reason why we can't talk about that today, but call us back tomorrow. And just having a good relationship with the media from the city perspective has been very beneficial. My predecessor in this role, Amy Fox, I'm sure all of you worked with her, sweetest lady on the planet. She was also in news, and Gary, the city manager, said that a person who has a background in news seems to be a perfect fit for this job, because I also am creating videos weekly to put out on our social media channels and YouTube that promote the city and explain to residents what's going on. So I'm creating videos, I'm helping the media create videos. I'm also working with 2 committees about creating some higher quality videos that will air on PBS, and they will air on, you know, we'll it's called geofencing, but we will target specific areas in other communities where we broadcast these really beautiful videos about why it's so great to live in Carbondale and all of the benefits of living here. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes as far as promoting Carbondale. It's not something you can just do overnight. I'm sure all of you know that it's a constant work in progress. There's always new platforms to get familiar with and new messages to share. I also help each department. So like I mentioned earlier, I manage 11 Facebook pages, which can be quite intimidating at times because I got to keep them all updated. But I work with the fire department, the police department, public works. That's just the ones that I work with probably the closest. But, you know, Carbondale Light's fantastic. I do things for them, and Carbondale Main Street. So I have been involved with a lot. I feel like just in this first year, I've been able to, even though there hasn't been events taking place in Carbondale, a lot of the community groups in Carbondale have needed videos in place, like a virtual event, or videos in place of an actual event taking place. And my video skills have helped me in that area. I've been able to help a lot of the groups in Carbondale, you know, spread a positive message just through video. And I just go ahead and send it to them and say, put it wherever you want, and then I'll share it to the city page as well. So if you guys ever have a video that you want shared, please send it to me, and I'll a video or a flyer, anything like that. I'm always looking for information to put out on the City of Carbondale Facebook page. We have the widest reach with the Facebook page instead of Twitter and Instagram, but we are active on those platforms as well as Nextdoor. Is there any questions that I can answer for you guys?
Ronnie,
Yeah, Cindy or Carl,
sorry.
whichever one. No, it's okay.
Either one.
Carl, go
I'll
ahead.
defer to Cindy.
Okay.
I'll be next.
So we've heard some about people being more interested in moving to more rural communities because of COVID, seeing some of the advantages of not being in the city. Do you think Carbondale is seeing any benefit from that yet, or do you anticipate that long term?
Absolutely. So one of the people that I'm working with on this this series of videos to promote Carbondale is actually a couple that moved here from Denver, Colorado. And they are a young couple, have 2 kids, are very much into gardening and mountain biking. So Southern Illinois was already a great fit for them, but they were researching great places to work from home. The wife has a work from home job 365 days a year. That's what she does. She works from home, but her husband had just started working from home, and they didn't have reliable, fast internet. And a lot of people in Southern Illinois take for granted just how great the Carbondale service is, because they say that they have had the best experience here in Carbondale with their working from home location, and just as well as like raising their kids in Southern Illinois. So we've already started to see families coming back or families locating here simply because they just Google where is good internet, and Carbondale pops up. But we're working with them on the video. I'm excited to release that one soon.
Wait, so they told you they had good internet in the Carbondale area?
They did. They did.
Oh.
They're over by Hickory Lodge, in case you want to know the neighborhood.
Yeah, I might need to relocate. This is.
I've got one for you, Ronnie. Is the city gearing up for any expansion, given the fact that SIU is like looking at it being fully face-to-face enrollment in the fall? How will that affect the city's planning in terms of like preparing the city, the welcome things and things like that?
We still plan to be available in every way that we were available before. I have spoken at many virtual events to welcome SIU students back, but I know that's very different than speaking to families in person in the arena or over at the student center, which I had the opportunity to do a few times before the pandemic. But everything that the city was involved with before, you can expect just as much this time. We'll have volunteers out there with move-in if it's safe to do so, and if all of our employees are vaccinated by then. But we are so excited to have students back in Carbondale. It'll be good for the businesses. So we'll do whatever we can to make them feel welcome. Let me check the chat window real quick. I can see some questions coming in. Thank you, Patrick, for the compliment about River Region. Are any new businesses coming to the mall or to Carbondale? I wish I could tell you without letting the cat out of the bag, but Steve Mitchell would have to be the one to release that news to you. He's the economic development director. I can give you a little bit of an update on the Starbucks that's downtown. Starbucks, you'll notice that there are crews inside working. I've stopped by a couple of times, knocked on the window to see if I can get anybody inside to come out. But Starbucks corporate does not actually communicate directly with the city about when they're opening. They expected to be open back in November, and obviously that didn't happen. It was September and then it was November. So they don't communicate with the city when they're going to be open. So from what I can tell, they're getting close. But keep an eye on the city Facebook page, because I'm sure that's the first place that I'll put that information when it's released. But we're just excited as everyone else for the standalone Starbucks. Cindy, yeah.
If no one else is going to ask questions, I'll ask another one. Is the city planning
Ronnie, do you know who is going to be?
Sorry, that was Christine. Go ahead, Christine.
Ronnie, who is going to be staffing the vaccination site? It's going to be Jackson County Health or another group, or?
Jackson County Health and the Illinois National Guard. They're all downstairs training right now. When I say training, they already know how to give the vaccines, but training as far as, ushering people in, ushering them out, all safely.
Good.
All right, so I'll jump back in. And that my question was, is the city planning any kind of a party, a festival, a celebration, sort of when we get out of COVID, something new to look forward to?
There's been a lot of dreams about it, but we haven't gotten that far ahead of ourselves just yet. Because the city of Carbondale, and we are very, very proud of this accomplishment, that our rates have been lower than the surrounding counties, and that it has a lot to do with the enforcement efforts here at Carbondale. We're so proud of that, but we don't want to be the first to jump on and have a big event whenever we open back up. So I'm sure that we'll be slow going, but eventually we get there. And when we do have a celebration, I'm sure that it will be one that you want to be at.
So the vaccination clinic, is that still group 1B, or are you preparing for group 1C?
So that's still group 1B right now. And as you may know, they've expanded some of the people that are allowed to be in group 1B and get vaccinated. So last I heard, it could be a couple of months before we get to 1C. But I know that, each week they're announcing more mass vaccination clinics. So hopefully it'll be quicker than that.
Ronnie, is there any update on the new transportation center? I know that we've gotten a grant to start, but what's the status of it?
So the status is right now, it's called an RFP. We're request for proposals from architects to help us with the design process. So right now, if you know of an architecture friend that may be wanting to get in on that, we are requesting proposals, and the design is starting to take shape. But an architect has not been selected yet. I should make that clear.
I'm pretty sure our architect friend who's on our Rotary board and in our club he's already in on that process, everybody. So,
Good, good.
my question is in regards to upcoming activities. How is the city working with the Department of Public Health to potentially reestablish events like the concerts in the park? And we had I believe the Tourism Bureau was doing events at the downtown pavilion and things like that. So what have we looked at those for the future, and what does that potentially look like?
It has been, I know that Gary, our city manager, is in close communication with Bart Haxton over at the Jackson County Health Department. And I know those two have communicated extensively about how to safely do any kind of event. Right now, I know that it's been just don't do events. But when the time comes, we are going to be looking ahead to talk with Bart and make sure that anything we do is safe for everyone in the community. I'm sorry I can't give you a better answer than that. I just know that it's so uncertain at this time. We haven't been looking too far ahead.
Totally understandable.
Is there anything else, anything I can elaborate on about something that I have already mentioned?
Let's ask one other thing, Ronnie, and this is probably people are thinking, but they don't want to ask. So I'll like be the actual bad guy here and ask anyway. How does the city determine in these snow days and stuff like that? I read on Facebook and a couple Facebook pages about a snow removal from the side streets. How does the city determine, how does Public Works determine what streets are done first and whatever, basically?
So there are 9 primary routes through town, and those 9 primary routes, the way I understand it, they are designed in a way that even the residential areas are only a block or within a couple of blocks of a cleared, well-treated road. So the primary roads are the priority from the very beginning. They pre-treat the roads with a brine, and then they go through and then they plow. And then after they get most of the snow and ice off of the road, they go back and retreat it. So that's an extensive process. It may take, 3 to 4 pass-throughs, and each one of those takes several hours. Because even though Carbondale's a big community, it may feel small to a lot of us, but there's a lot of road, a lot of miles to cover, even with the primary routes. So the secondary roads, the way I understand it is they were going back through today for their second pass through. They're not able to get the snow and ice off the streets right now because of how cold it is and the treatment that they have, the salt and the calcium. It doesn't work under 23 degrees or doesn't work well under 23 degrees. But they were going through, and I was told that they were going to try to hit every single residential street. And if not, they were going to get every other so that you could get to a street that would lead you to a primary route. Those guys have been working on 3 hours of sleep. I don't know if I should be sharing that, but they, they're doing the best they can to safely clear the roads. But there's only, I think there's 9 Teamsters to run 6 trucks 24 hours a day. So they're doing as much as they can. And they take their jobs very seriously, and they want everybody to know how hard they're working. And they're sorry that they can't get to every road, but they just got to focus on those primary routes. That wasn't a bad question, Carl. You had me scared.
Can you talk a little bit about the budget, the city budget that's in process now for the next fiscal year?
Is there a specific area of the budget that you want to talk about? Because honestly, that's a little out of my wheelhouse. I can talk basics, but Gary's the one that you'd want to talk with about that.
Okay, well, I was wondering whether it was looking like contraction or whether we have the funds to keep pretty much what has been. And I know that the funding of the social agencies in Carbondale, that's one that kind of is a kind of a buffer zone, or could be a target. So that could be a specific if you want something to focus on.
Something to focus on. Well, I know, and I think that Gary Williams, our city manager, would be the best person to talk with about this, and he could give you a real clear picture of what we're looking at. I know that obviously, like every other community in the nation, we've seen a decrease in tax revenue and all the things that help make our community function. But we have maintained all of the services that we've been able to provide so far, and I believe that we'll be able to continue doing everything as we have to the best of our abilities. Maybe a scaled back version of it, but we'll still stay involved with all of that.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any further questions for Ms. LaForge?
Ooh, what's the timeline on the solar system?
Hey, good question. Within the next couple of months. From what I can tell, all it needs to happen is they're just going to place the solar panels actually on the racks. They've finished that over at the police department. I'm not sure where they're at the wastewater treatment facility, but the ones on City Hall have not been placed yet. The crews are still here.
They're probably like my crew. We got about 2 weeks off right now.
It's a little chilly. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you,
wouldn't want
Ronnie,
to be on
for
a leave right now.
no. Thank you, Ronnie, for joining us today. And if anybody has any questions, she's got her phone number down there. We really appreciate you sharing an update on what's going on with the city.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation and talking with all of you. And like I mentioned, I'm always looking for guests on Talk of the Town. So if you're involved with another community group, or even if it's something for Rotary, please reach out to me. I'd love to have you as a guest.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Where'd it go? There it is. All right. Going on, what's happening next week? Next week, we have Mr. Tom Davenport from the Carbondale Chamber of Commerce. And the following week, on March 3rd, we have Vitali, I'm not even going to try to say that last name, Rotarian, and he's the founder of the Rotary Children's Fund. So he's going to be discussing with us what the Rotary Children's Fund is and does. Now it's time for the four-way test. Brad Austin, would you please lead us in the four-way test?
Yes, would you please join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do? First, is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Yep.
Thank you all for joining us today, and we hope to see you again next week.
Thank you.